Hey friends, thanks for clicking on this video and just joining in on what seems to be a continuing conversation. I'm going to take a few moments and address another comment. And again, I don't know what video it was under. I just happened to see a string of comments and this was in there. And it was basically challenging how fast your gunpowders are burning when you're burning it in a trough, and are my troughs all of the same length? Now, over the years, I've stayed with one block in particular, but when I started burning or testing multiple gunpowders, I made some different blocks or some different troughs, and I can understand when somebody might think, well, it didn't burn as quick, or it burnt slower, burnt too fast because of the length of your trough. So once again, let's redo this, but this time I'm going to show the difference between homemade gunpowder Swiss and 777. And hopefully this will be the last time I have to do something like this. So if you spend any time on YouTube looking at the multiple videos that are out there on making homemade black powder, eventually you're going to come across people using a blowtorch to demonstrate just how fast their gunpowder burns. Myself, I don't ascribe to that, just simply because you've got the entire flame sitting on top of the pile of gunpowder. And that's not how black powder reacts. Black powder burns from the front to the back. That's how black powder works. But in a thermal runaway, it's instantaneous. So I'm going to demonstrate that. Okay, I've got the blowtorch ready to go. And what I have in this block of wood is 30 grains of 777. Watch what happens. You can literally watch that gunpowder burn. Now, let me show you what the block looks like, because it's filthy dirty. You see the smoky residue left behind? You see how dirty that is? That's what's being left in your gun barrels. Now, most of us will acknowledge that 777 is a very powerful black powder substitute. Produces more pressure, better velocities, and that's because it burns slow. 30 grains of Swiss with the blowtorch. Everybody will admit that went up pretty darn quick. Let me show you the block. So once again, you can see the smoky residue that's left behind with Swiss. And this is why I say it's unacceptable, because after a few shots of this through your flintlock, more than likely you're going to have to vent pick. This is what's left behind. Let me get you another gunpowder to test. 30 grains, homemade gunpowder, that's the aspen and alder blended. Everybody would agree that went up pretty damn quick. So there's the block and a whole lot less smoky residue. One more to test. Okay, here's 30 grains of Osage orange. Once again, I think everybody will admit it went up pretty quick. And I would agree. Here's a close-up of the block. And as you can see, there's little to no smoky residue. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same test, another block, and I'm going to do the tests in reverse, but this time it'll be 30 grains in a channel. So here's 30 grains of Osage orange in that channel. Now granted, you're burning a trail of it, so to speak. But imagine this in the entire context of a thermal runaway. think you would have to admit that's pretty quick. There's the block. I'd say that's pretty clean. But imagine how much more quicker that would go up in your gun barrel with a thermal runaway. Okay, now let's do the aspen alder blended. Same block, sanded off everything from the previous burn, 30 grains of the gunpowder that's aspen alder blended. Once again, you would see, or at least you would conclude, that that went up pretty quick. Little to no smoky residue, and I keep saying that because when I get to the Swiss and the 777, you'll see a clear difference in them. Okay, now on to the Swiss. 30 grains of Swiss. Again, you would agree that's pretty quick. Let me show you this block. Clearly, you can identify the smoky residue. Take a good look at that, because when I burn the 777, the same trough, same amount of powder, you can see that 777 is dirtier than Swiss. But if you think back, the homemade gunpowder is cleaner than the Swiss. Okay, 30 grains, 777. So I think everybody will admit that's pretty slow, because you could literally observe it burning. Let me show you the block. Dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Now can you imagine putting this in your flintlock? Now I understand, I don't need to see a comment, I understand you have to put a few grains of black powder first and then this on top of it, but either way, that's what would be left behind. Even if you use a percussion rifle, this is what's left behind. It's filthy dirty. So I certainly hope that this answers the question. It really doesn't matter how long your trough is. If you have a line of 30 grains of gunpowder, whether that's in a trough or not, or how long that trough is, black powder has a predictable burn rate. And even outside of a trough, it's going to burn just as fast, just like 777 has a predictable burn rate. It's slow. It burns very, very slow. And because it burns slow, it builds up more pressure in your gun barrel in conjunction with that thermal runaway. Even though audibly it sounds like it's instantaneous, but it's really not when you put it up and measure it with a high-speed camera. Okay, and that's why, you know, substitute propellants such as 777, Pyrodex, and I know there's a few others out there, tend to give you more velocities, but you're not really comparing a black powder equally to a propellant, if that makes any sense. It makes sense to me. But anyhow, for the commenter that left that comment, kind of challenging because I didn't have the same length trough. I really can't say that it burnt just as quick. Well, this time I used the same length trough, and I used the same amount of powder, but you could also see with the naked eye how slow 777 burns compared to even my homemade black powder, comparing that to Swiss. And you could also see once again how much fouling, smoky residue is left behind with Swiss compared to the stuff that I've been making. And there again, like I said, there's a whole new generation of black powder shooters coming up, and they need to be taught what some of us older folks have known for decades, and in particular when it comes to black powder. Now, I understand also, with that being said, that there's a lot of people's feelings getting hurt when I say what I say about Swiss. But quite honestly, friends, this isn't any different than 30 years ago when everybody had a pissing contest regarding Elephant and Goex. It's the same thing all over again. I witnessed the same type of stuff way back then regarding Elephant. It was a lot of disparaging things being said about Elephant and vice versa. Those that loved Elephant said disparaging things about Goex. And quite honestly, when I hear people, you know, repeat over and over again how clean burning Swiss is, that's just not true. It's just simply not true. You have to do these open air burns and physically look at the gunpowders. And as I showed in the previous video, and I talked about it before, after 3 or 4 shots, I had to vent pick my touch hole because Swiss plugged it up. As opposed to my homemade gunpowder, when I can go 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 shots without having to vent pick it. And I've demonstrated that on this channel. That's not to say it won't happen sometime in the future, but the likelihood is a lot less than it is with Swiss. So take it for what it's worth. Everybody have a great day. I'm going to go check on my gunpowder that I'm milling right now, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.